swear the whole. Can you like just do the thing like that's all? You good?
We were talking again, please. Sorry, I apologize.
Please. I call the Senate to order at 6:19 p.m. If I can have everybody rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I can screen on, go through. Miss Morgan, could you lead us off?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, move down the agenda. First roll call. If I can have everybody. Everyone has it. Alright, clicking. Is that everybody? Alright, with 31. Oh, Mr. Aldridge. Mr. Aldridge, if you could click in, please.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? No? Alright. Alright, with 32 present. Moving on down the agenda. Additions, deletions, and or clarifications to the orders of the day. Oh, if I can scroll for you. Mr. Eloa.
Is there a way we can move the Title VII report to the bottom? That way, some of the new students that are coming from class and stuff can do like first glance at it.
Sure. Well, I mean, it would, okay. So after the impeachment committee report?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Any objections to moving? Seeing no objections, any other motions? Mr. Hernandez. Any objection to approving the agenda as it stands? Seeing no objections, it is approved. Additions, deletions, and or changes to the minutes are sent out, and if anyone has a motion, I'm sure everyone read them, Mr. Hartman. Any objection to approving the minutes that were sent out? Seeing none, they are approved. Legislative branch report. Senator, well, he was just here. Rules Committee.
Hi guys.
Senator Pellegrino.
Last week. So that's it. Go rules. But I might be best compete the same.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for rules? Moving on. Appropriations and audits. Senator Abraham.
Hi, appropriations and audits. I don't recall the last meeting. We did 2 budgets and we had our social. We exchanged ideas how to improve appropriations and audits, and we are improving.
I don't know if it was sent to you. It was? Cool. Moving on. Judiciary and Ethics Committee. Mr. Aziz.
Last week on JC met, we finished up the executive branch reviews. So we got about the majority of the executive branch, judicial branch, and the agencies to present their end of year transition reports to the committee. It was really helpful. So we have all that to compile for next year. We all said so good. It's really fun. So other than that, JC is done for the year.
Questions? Seeing none. Special funding.
Alright, special funding met today for the last time. We had a little social and a little wrap up. Just to let you guys know what we've done $140,000 for job grants minus about 87,000. So, we work hard and thank you for the committee.
Questions? Seeing none. UCGA.
Alrighty. UCGA didn't get a chance to meet last week, so I just went ahead and worked on. Yeah, exactly. I just went ahead and worked on some transition stuff with our advisory, just so the person who drew facing me, as of today, can have like a smooth transition. So that's pretty much it. Any questions? Cool.
Thanks, sir. Since the pro tempor's not here yet, or just stepped out, I'll do my report. We have, let's see here, we're presenting, actually, I don't know if it was. Okay, well, we're presenting the ASARC bill to Dr. Genshak and Dr. Miller. Moving on from there, we have a meeting of graduate students tomorrow to understand their needs as well, because they feel that they were put on the back burner, and we never let some students feel underrepresented, really. So we have that. We also have a concern with IT that we need to handle. That's all just like, it's a lovely last minute thing to, come up with at the end of the term. Other than that, I'll be doing a one-on-one transition once we figure out who the actual Senate President is for the next term, for the 55th term. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. Questions for me? Senator Benson.
Would you mind going into a little bit more detail on what's happening with the IT?
Sure. They want to say that, or not that they want to say, they say that the contract is written to where we have to pay for a third tech support person, but the contract, when we read it, we don't believe it says that, so we're just having a little bit of a stick to go over that. Like, any more questions? Cool, seeing none, moving on. Executive branch report.
Scott actually said he'll be here in a few minutes.
Cool, I guess he can do his with Adams. Judicial branch report.
Hello, Senate, and welcome new senators. Just want to introduce myself to the new senators. My name is Brian Buenaventura, and I'm the Chief Justice for the Judicial Branch, and I have a report for all of you. First and foremost, yesterday we did testify at the Senate Impeachment Committee. I felt that the Senate Impeachment Committee got to hear our side of the story, and when it comes down to the report, I hope that you all make sure that you're very clear and understand all the facts that were taken by the Senate Impeachment Committee, so that you can all make the right decision. It has come to my attention that articles have been filed, and this was confirmed to me by the Senate President and the Senate President. I just want to read some things that are in statutes that were passed by this legislation body, and according to statutes 213.2.3.3, the committee will submit the final articles to the Senate President pro tempore, who will make them public and add them to the agenda for the next regular or special meeting of the Senate. Senate 213.2.3.4, the committee will ensure that the accused and the accuser receive a copy of these articles. Myself and the other individuals have not received these articles to this point. And I ask that you keep that into consideration, because these are things that are written here in statutes. As far as
Thank you.
as far as other things, I will be chairing my last general meeting with the Judicial Branch tomorrow. And on Friday, I'll be doing my last act as Chief Justice by swearing in the new student body president and vice president. So I ask that you all guys come by so you can see this historic moment. With that, I have nothing else to report. Are there any questions for me?
Senator Pellegrino.
Not necessarily a question, but I don't know if I can still answer.
Oh, well, in terms of the actual articles, Senator Pro Tempore Aldridge is actually going to go send them right now to everybody, just because that meeting finished right before this meeting, so there was no time in between.
Okay, I'm just here to say that we didn't get it. So.
Questions? Mr. Shapiro.
Have the articles been made public?
Right. So,
Okay, ma'am.
Miss Morgan. Oh, Miss Pellegrino.
It is a report, and it was emailed to both Mr. Aldrich and Mr. Patel. Not so long ago, actually, because we just finished the meeting 20 minutes ago. So, I mean, if you consider an email a public record, go ahead. Other than that, you will see the report if you report later on today.
Mr. Brennan, try.
Nonetheless, the articles were not sent to the accused or the accusers.
We can have this argument after in the actual appropriate designated like line item for this discussion.
With that, are there any further questions?
Any questions for the court in general? Ms. Abraham.
Is I believe in statute it says that you're supposed to call in for the ERC ROPs. Have that been done yet?
No, ma'am, they have not.
And follow up?
Sure.
Why is that?
Because the Title VII committee is meeting right now, to my understanding.
As
Ms.
a
Hoffman.
chair, I've been done since Friday, sir.
Okay, so then the next administration will reflect on those RFP changes that you've made. As far as I know, I have not gotten any notification of that.
If I may, Title VII and ERC ROPs are two different committees. So you're supposed to call ROP. I'm supposed to call Title VII.
Okay.
Cool.
Are there any further questions for me?
Senator Kansen.
Do you know the time and place of the inauguration?
I believe
Miss Morgan, do you actually? Do you actually know it?
No, I have to
Yeah.
check with them.
Miss Morgan, do you know the time and place of the inauguration?
Yes, I do. It is this Friday, the 25th at 2 p.m. at MSC 2708.
Thank you, ma'am.
And the banquet is on the evening at 6 p.m. in the ballroom.
The awards. Okay. So I'm in better mood today. I attribute that all to you because it's our last time we'll ever be together. So I was gonna just go ahead and use this as my time to say goodbye, and all of you have affected me. Whether we had formally.
Do you
Work
have a
together?
report first? Like if you can use your report first, then I'll put you into open forum.
Oh wow. Okay. Can I do open forum after my report?
All right, go ahead.
My report is we are transitioning John Coco and Rondell and Banquets on Friday.
Any questions for the executive branch? Cool. Open forum.
Okay.
Mr. Sandoval.
Okay, so as I was saying, I'll miss you all very dearly. Whether we work together formally or not, you've all had a profound effect on my life. And I plan to bring that in the classroom because, as you know, I'm going to become a teacher in August. And so I just want you all to know that I'm taking a little bit of each of you with me. So I'll see you all around the day.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else for open forum? No other announcements for open forum? Alright then. Moving on. General business. Resolutions on first reading. We have SBR 54029 in commemoration of USF Women's Tennis Team's ACC Championship win. Could the presenter step forward? I'll take a motion. Senator Ronson. Motion to read. Any objection to entering first reading of in commemoration of SBR 54029? Seeing no objections, Mr. Ulloa.
So SBR 54-029 in commemoration of the USF Women's Tennis Team's AAC Championship win. To express the interest of the student body through their student government, be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled. Whereas the Student Government Senate recognizes the hard work and perseverance of the University of South Florida Women's Tennis Team in winning the 2014 American Athletic Conference Championship. Whereas the Student Government Senate acknowledges that the USF Women's Tennis Team has successfully earned their way into the finals in the past 3 years. This year, the team successfully advanced through the semifinals and won the final match versus Houston. Whereas the players have exemplified sportsmanship to its highest regard while elevating the sport of tennis onto a national level. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled that on behalf of the student body, we sincerely thank the USF Women's Tennis Team for their committed service at the University of South Florida, congratulate them on their big accomplishment, and wish them well in the NCAA tournament.
Senator Hartman.
Motion to pass by.
Any objections to approving the resolution by acclamation? Cool, and everyone understand? Oh, I mean, it's approved. And everyone knows what this is in reference to, right? Cool.
Let me not understand what it's.
Moving on, SBR 54030 in commemoration of the USF Men's Tennis Team ACC Championship win. Yes. Take a motion. Senator Cologne.
Motion to read SBR 54030.
Any objection to entering or reading first or entering first reading of said bill? Seeing none. Go ahead.
SBR 54-030 in commemoration of the USF Men's Tennis Team's AAC Championship while elevating the sport of tennis onto a national level. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of University of South Florida Student Government assembled that on behalf of the student body, we sincerely thank the USF Men's Tennis Team for their committed service at the University of South Florida, extend our gratitude for all they extend the gratitude for all they have accomplished and wish them well in the continuing endeavors.
I believe it is.
Yeah, it should have been more reference, but I mean, it should be the same as the other one at the very end.
Wasn't this the same?
No, the name change. I did say that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. If you could just reread the parts with those actual changes.
Alright. So we changed it so it says, whereas the Student Government Senate acknowledges that the USF men's tennis team has successfully earned their way into the finals. And at the very bottom, we changed it to, we sincerely thank the USF men's tennis team for their committed service at the University of South Florida, congratulate them on their big accomplishment, and wish them well in the NCAA tournament.
Senator Rodriguez.
I move to pass by acclamation.
Any objection to approving this bill by acclamation? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Fiscal legislation on first reading 54090 FBLA PBL.
Okay, this is our last,
Budget bill.
reading.
Also offered.
This is our last budget bill of this term. Congratulations, you guys. We've done 89 budget bills. That's more than last year's, probably more than ever. So just, you guys are a great Senate. So with that, Future Business Leaders of America, Phi Beta Lambda, they have this allocation, well, whatever. They were allocated $45 for materials, $30 for food, for a total of $79.50 after overhead. The breakdown can be seen here. Only one item was funded, because everything else was in a different fiscal year. Questions?
Queries?
Motion to vote on the bill.
Sure. Sure. Sorry, again, just so I have it accurate for the records, is it 09089? Thank you, ma'am. Alright. Any objection to voting on SBA 54089, Future Business Leaders of America, Phi Beta Lambda? Seeing no objections, you're now on voting procedures. Please have your papers out. And 1 is yes to fund, 2 is no, they should not be funded at all, and 3 is to abstain. That's everybody? Alright. With the vote count of 32 to 0 to 1, can you note this? Just note this. The vote count of 32 to 0 to 1. The budget bill for FBLA PBL is approved. Huh? 32 to 0 to 1, yes, sir. Senate Impeachment Committee report. Just if actually you give it just 1 second. Well, actually, you can start your report, and then for the articles, I'll let Mr. Aldridge make sure that they disperse everybody at least for 10 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Let's see. So we met Friday and Monday, this past Monday, and today as well. We finished our meeting at 5:45 p.m. pretty much. We have interviewed a total of 8 individuals, which we'll see the names coming up in just a little bit. It's on the final committee report. Actually, first of all, before I said any of this, I would like to thank Mr. Romero and Mr. Bunamus for their work, for their time, for so much, really a lot of work put into this committee, for hours and hours and hours of deliberation and interviews and typing and everything. But anyway, I just feel like that should be recognized. But I'm not the chair of this meeting, so there's a question for him.
Mr. Romero.
Yes, both Mr. Bunamus and I did put in many hours, but I think that Ms. Maciel put in at least twice as many hours. I think she recognized as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. So, I mean, there's really nothing else to report other than go through the document. The document, it's a 15-page long document, so I would really ask you to bear with me. So, do we have a document or not? Actually, okay, I can address a couple of questions first of all.
Gotcha.
I can address a couple of concerns. RP 213.2.3.4, the committee will ensure that the accused and accuser receive a copy of the articles. There is no mention of when this article should be sent to the accuser. Therefore, I am not breaking RP 213.2.3.4. The court just received a copy of the articles. That's about it. 213.2.3.3, the committee will submit the finalized articles to the Senate President Pro Tempore, who will make them public and add them to the agenda for the next regular or special meeting of the Senate. Again, there is no mention of when this report should be submitted to Senate President Pro Tempore. It was submitted like half an hour ago, as I mentioned, because we just finished with this report. But there is no mention of when. Therefore, I am not breaking ROP 213.3.3.3. Other than that, it was added to the agenda as well. So yeah, just wanted to address that. I don't know if there are any questions that I can take now while we actually have the report.
Mr. Ulloa.
Question. You said in your thing that had to be sent before the Senate meeting. Was it sent before the
No, it does not say. That's the thing. It does not. It just says that it has to be submitted and made public. It's submitted, but to the Senate President Pro Tempore and made public. But it doesn't say when. It doesn't say how.
Senator Romero.
Also, I just want to clarify that the reason that we did go till 5:45 and that it was submitted to him right before the Senate meeting was because we just took our time and decided to submit it right before. It's because we didn't get to hear from the members from the court until Monday during the day. So to make sure that we reviewed all the things that they had submitted and made sure that we gave just as much time, we put in just as much time to listen to their half as we did to listen to every other interviewer. We wanted to make sure that we thoroughly went through that, and to do that, it obviously takes time, and that's why it took up until 5:45 today. So I wanted to clarify that it's not that we just decided to take our time because we wanted to make sure everything was fair and that we gave everyone the best time.
Thanks, sir. Alright. So, wait 1 second. Ms. Kitsy, you said Mr. Aldridge sent it?
I have received it.
Okay, what I'll do is does everyone have, like, does everyone have a way to be able to look at it? If not, I'll just go print out sheets if people want sheets. And we can take a recess for that, so you can actually have the actual document in front of you, if you like. No different than we did last time. If I can raise a hand, you always want to find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Again, not like last time where we have 12 people that requested after 7 prints. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all I saw. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everyone's counted for. Okay, I'll print about 12. But yeah, I'll take a motion for a 7-minute recess so I can get that printed for you guys. Senator Canton.
I would like to motion for a 7-minute recess.
Any objection for a 7-minute recess? Seeing none. Thank you. At 6:46 p.m. And if you could get the recorder to. Thank you.
Their fingers were like claws. That's what I did. How much you There is no unless you're a bodybuilder, unless like unless you're a bodybuilder or listen, I just think
Everybody who wanted a paper copy, raise your hands. And keep them raised until I get to you.
now back in session at 7:03 p.m. So we've dispersed the packets for everyone who requested them, I hope. Other than that, we'll read them along on thing. I'll also take a motion to. You need 2/3 change the agenda, just so we can have everyone be comfortable. We'll add the actual line item for the articles, because if this is not like, if people feel like it's not enough, you can add the actual articles. So if there's a motion, and if you want to do that, if not, you keep going. Senator Romero.
Do we have to move to vote, or can I just move to?
No, you got to vote to add, to change the, if you want to amend the agenda, Mr. Romero,
Move to amend the agenda by adding memos,
the articles of,
the articles of future,
sure.
by vote of straw poll, or by.
Well, no, it's just clicker.
We always vote the same way.
Alright, if everyone has their clicker out, we'll do first Senator Aldridge.
Is it now in voting procedure?
Huh?
Are we now in voting procedure?
Not yet.
Can I
How about-
object and ask for a reestablishment of quorum first?
I didn't ask for. Are there any objections? There you go. That's why you didn't get it. Sorry. Mr. Aldridge.
I'd like to object and have us vote first to reestablish quorum.
Mr. Romero, do you rescind to establish quorum? Alright, if everyone can just click in if they're here, things are ready. Alright, thank you. With the 32 present, moving on. Alright. So yeah, yes is to add the art. Oh, Mr. Romero, sorry. Go ahead.
Move to reinstate the previous motion.
Any objections to his previous, or actually his motion? Seeing none, thank you. Yeah, so yes is to add the articles to the agenda, and could you just state where you'd like it?
Right under the Senate Education Committee.
Cool. Any objections with that's the placement? Okay, cool. So yeah, you vote to add it there. So yes is to add it right after that. No is to not amend the agenda, and 3 is to abstain. Everyone's clear? Okay, go ahead. It's amend the agenda. I don't think it matters. If they abstain, they abstain the matters of it, like the actual substance. Is that okay? That is 32. All right. With a vote count 31 to 0 to 1, we have now voted to amend the agenda to include articles of impeachment. Articles of impeachment. Senator Pellegrino.
As I mentioned before, this is a very, very long document. It's 15 pages long, but basically we have the original 7 pages of the memo of impeachment and then the explanation below it regarding every single one of the points. So this is the final committee report. Following the initiation of the Senate Impeachment Committee by the Senate on March 25th, 2014, the committee moved to elect the chairwoman, myself, and a non-student advisor, Jessica Morgan. The committee created a plan to investigate the alleged violations stated in the memo of impeachment. The committee reviewed evidence, requested public records, and interviewed the following individuals: Saif Hasuna, Shan Patel, Zain Khatib, Daniel Shapiro, Sami Hamed, Brian Buenaventura, Andy Rodriguez, and Abdul Aziz. I would like to add that we requested the presence of more than 16 individuals and about 17, and these were the individuals that actually came and testified. The following represents the investigatory findings of the committee and in no form or fashion should be considered as a verdict of guilt or innocence upon Chief Justice Brian Buenaventura, Senior Justice Daniel Shapiro, and Ranking Justice Tammy Hammett. The following findings will be presented in order in which they were presented in the memo of impeachment. So,
Senator Romero, is that a question?
Did you want to preface with something?
do I want to what?
Did you want to preface this with something? I think you wanted to preface this with something.
I don't know.
If not, then you can just read it.
Okay. All right. So just to reiterate, the top. So let's say this first two bullet points were the memo of impeachment allegations, and then right here would be our recommendation. So 102.2, all students serving in any capacity with student government must comply with the student government statutes. Any disregard, unintentional, or deliberate of any statute may subject that student to removal from the position in accordance with the student government constitution and statutes. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by not complying with the Judicial Ethics Act and Chapter 209 in regards to the events leading up to the trial of Sean Coco versus the ERC. The Judicial Ethics Act is found in Chapter 503 and then Chapter 209. Now, those violations from the Judicial Ethics Act and Chapter 209, you will see them one by one below. But based upon a revision of all of them, which you will see coming up, then we decided that there is no evidence in support of any violation of the Judicial Ethics Act or Chapter 209. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 103.2, abuse of power. The use of one's power to coerce or unjustifiably influence any fellow member of the student government. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by unjustifiably trying to influence other members of the student government and fellow justices. Now I need to provide a little bit of background right here. There were several pieces of evidence submitted to the committee. We had two official sworn statements, thank you. One from former Justice McCann and one from Mr. Abdulaziz. And then we had a series of violations. Basically, the appeal that Mr. Messina submitted to the Dean for Students, that was submitted to us as well, so we were able to take that into account. However, Mr. Aziz, during his review, he retracted his official statement. Therefore, the committee considered that there was no validity behind a deeper when the actual individual is retracting his statement. And so we were only left with Mr. McCann's affidavits, which he didn't actually come forward and testify. And yes, I mean, it is still a sworn statement, but compared to the evidence that were presented on the other side, the committee decided that there wasn't enough evidence in support of Mr. McCann's argument. So the court, or the other side I would say, they submitted multiple affidavits as well, so just to hold them all to the same standards, we decided to disregard all affidavits, the ones submitted by the court and the ones submitted by Mr. McCann and Mr. Aziz, because of course they're both telling two different sides of the story, so we decided to go just off of concrete and palpable evidence, which in this case were the minutes and email communications, public records, just those sort of things. So, after an extensive examination of the evidence, Mr. McCann's and Mr. Aziz's affidavits were the only pieces of evidence found in support of this violation. However, none of the affidavits presented to the committee were taken into consideration for the reasons that I just stated. Based on the interviews conducted, emails, and meeting minutes, the committee did not find any evidence supporting this violation. Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett did not violate 103.2. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 103, that's the reason why I just explained that is because you will keep seeing the same thing over and over throughout all of the violations because it's a lot of the same thing and based on the same piece of evidence. 103.16, coercion, the use of force or threats to compel a person to commit an act. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by trying to force fellow justices to vote a certain way. So, same thing. Basically, there was no evidence suggesting that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett tried to force fellow justices to vote a certain way. Therefore, Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 103.40 incompetence, lack of qualification, inadequate qualification, or lack of qualities necessary to fulfill the duties of a position. The SU Supreme Court leadership did not exhibit the professional qualifications and qualities needed to fulfill the duties of this position by trying to criticize the trial results before it happens. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond exhibited a lack of professional qualifications and qualities needed to fulfill the duties of these positions. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 103.49 malfeasance. Commission of a wrongful or unlawful act involving or affecting the performance of one's duties. The SU Supreme Court leadership violated this by discussing and acting upon the intention to choose who votes for what for the trial before it happens. Basically, the main supports for this violation were found in Mr. McCann's and Mr. Aziz's affidavits or sworn statements. However, we didn't take that into consideration, as I mentioned before. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond discussed and acted upon the intention to choose who votes for what for trial before it happened. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 103.51 misfeasance, performance of a lawful action in an illegal or improper manner or with an improper or corrupt motive. Again, we didn't take the affidavits into consideration. Therefore, no evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond performed a lawful action in an illegal or improper manner or with an improper or corrupt motive. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 103.52 non-feasance, failure to perform an act that is either an official duty or a legal requirement. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond failed to perform an act that is either an official duty or a legal requirement. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 209.5.1 take advantage of the official capacity of their office for their own personal gain or advantage, including any act beneficial to any person in whose welfare he or she is interested. The SU Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by using their positions to sway the outcome of the trial in favor of one particular party. Thank you, Ms. Morgan. After an extensive, you guys know that already. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond used their position to sway the outcome of the trial in favor of one particular party. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 209.53 participate in any student government procedure where the outcome has significant personal consequences for the individual that render him or her unable to act impartially. The SU Supreme Court leadership violated this statute because they had a personal outcome of having one of their friends being involved in the election trial. This enabled them to act impartially. During our interviews, Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hamed admitted that they are friends with Mr. Coco. However, there was really, just because they are friends does not mean that led them to act impartially or in a biased manner. That was a decision of the committee. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee, no evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond had a personal outcome due to Mr. Coco's involvement in the election trial. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 209.5.4 make an untrue claim expressly stated or implied to be factual with the intent to harm the reputation of an individual or entity. This claim may be communicated verbally or in writing. The SU Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by making untrue claims about being unbiased and acted with intent of favoring one particular party in the trial. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond made untrue claims about being unbiased and acted with the intent of favoring one particular party in the trial. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not 209.5.8 advise, aid, procure, or in any way induce another to act in violation of the student body constitution, student government statutes, or otherwise specified student government policy, or the university student code of conduct. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by discussing the outcome of the trial before it occurs and not fairly assessing the case for its merits. They discussed that they already had the votes needed for the case to be in favor of John Coco. No evidence suggests that Mr. Bonaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett discussed the outcome of the trial before it occurred and did not fairly assess the case for its merits. Furthermore, there is no evidence suggesting that a discussion of having the votes needed for the case to be in favor of Mr. Coco took place. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. (209.7) A violation under this chapter may be grounds for impeachment, suspension, removal from office, dismissal from employment, non-compliance, or public censure. The SG Supreme Court leadership is in violation of the rules in Chapter 209, which is grounds for impeachment. However, as we just saw above, the committee did not find any violations of Chapter 209 to have been broken by Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hamed. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.1 Legislative Intent. The judicial system is based on the principle that an independent, fair, and competent judiciary shall interpret and apply the laws that govern, and the role of the judiciary is central to the American concept of justice and rule of law. Intrinsic to this concept are the precepts that justices individually and collectively must respect and honor the system, honor the judicial office as a public trust, and strive to enhance and maintain confidence in the legal system. The justice is an arbiter of facts and law for the resolution of disputes and a highly visible member of the student government under the rule of law. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this by not being independent, fair, and competent in interpreting and applying the laws that govern. They violated this by already deciding Jean Coco was the victor of the trial before it happened. The Supreme Court members did not wait for the facts to be heard since they had already made up their minds on which way to vote. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett were not independent, fair, and competent in interpreting and applying the laws that govern. Furthermore, no evidence suggests that the justices did not wait for the facts to be heard and that they had already made up their minds on which way to vote. Sorry for the typo. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.3. The Act governs the conduct of justices and is binding upon them. Whether disciplinary action is appropriate and the degree of discipline to be imposed requires a reasoned application of the text and considerations of such factors as the seriousness of the transgression, whether there is a plan of improper activity, and the effect of the improper activity on others or on the judicial system. SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by the justices not conducting themselves with discipline in regards to the seriousness of the trial. They engaged in improper activity by discussing and actually going through with their plans to choose how to vote. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett did not conduct themselves with discipline in regards to the seriousness of the trial. There is no evidence in support of the claim that the justices engaged in improper activity by discussing and actually going through with their plans to choose how to vote. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.4. A justice shall uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary. A justice shall participate in establishing, maintaining, and enforcing high standards of conduct and shall personally observe these standards so that the integrity and independence of the judiciary shall be preserved. The provisions of the Act are to be applied to further his objective. A judicial decision or administrative act later determined to be incorrect legally is not itself a violation of the Act. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by not holding the integrity and independence of the judiciary. They did not uphold the high standards of conduct that is expected of the Supreme Court member by discussing and going through with the concept of voting in favor of dismissing the Sean Coco campaign violations. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett did not hold the integrity and independence of the judiciary and did not uphold the high standards of conduct that is expected of the Supreme Court member. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment upon this charge. Based upon this charge. Thank you. 503.5. A justice shall avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all of his or her activities through following the measures prescribed below. 503.5.1. A justice shall respect and comply with the law and shall act at all times in a manner that promoted public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. As the Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by having an impropriety in their decision and discussing of the spring 2014 election trial. The justices did not avoid the appearance of impropriety as they discussed and followed through with deciding who will vote for what during the election trial hearing. The Supreme Court members did not respect and comply with law that exhibits impartiality and integrity. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett had an impropriety in their decisions and discussions of the spring 2014 election trial. Furthermore, no evidence suggests that the justices exhibited an appearance of impropriety by discussing and deciding who will vote for what during the election trial hearing. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.5.2. A justice shall not allow family, social, political, or other relationships to influence their conduct or judgment, nor shall a justice convey or permit others to convey the impression that any individual is in a position to influence a justice. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by using relationships established to guide their decisions and judgment. They used their position as a justice improperly to render a biased opinion. This was done by discussing the outcome of the trial beforehand and then acting upon the discussion. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett used relationships established to guide their decisions and judgment. Furthermore, no evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett used their positions to render a biased opinion. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.5.3. A justice shall not lend the prestige of judicial office to advance the pecuniary or personal interests of the justices or others, nor shall a justice testify voluntarily as a material witness before the student government Supreme Court. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated the statute by advancing personal interests by favoring the candidate who was appealing the campaign violations. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett advanced personal interest by favoring the candidate that was appealing the campaign violation. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.1. A justice shall hear and decide all matters assigned to the Supreme Court except those in which he or she recuses themselves. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated the statute by hearing matters and deciding upon them before the trial, such as deciding the outcome. The justices did not recuse themselves before any discussion of predetermined outcome. No evidence based on the interviews conducted, emails, and meeting minutes, the committee did not find any evidence supporting this violation. Mr. Buenaventura did not recuse himself from the trial before this alleged violation. Therefore, this alleged violation does not apply in this case. No evidence suggests that Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hammett heard matters and decided before the trial took place. Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hammett voted on granting certiorari, which is purely a procedural matter. Mr. Shapiro chaired the pre-trial motion meeting and abstained as the chair. Mr. Hammett was not present at the meeting. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.2. A justice shall be faithful to the law, regardless of partisan interest, public clamor or fear of criticism. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by not being faithful to the law and putting partisan interests ahead of the professional conduct of the Supreme Court. They were not faithful by objectively deciding the outcome of the trial beforehand and then doing so during voting. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond were not faithful to the law and put partisan interests ahead of the professional conduct of the Supreme Court. Furthermore, there is no evidence suggesting that the justices decided the outcome of the trial beforehand. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.3. A justice shall be patient, dignified, and courteous to all with whom the justice deals within an official capacity. A justice shall also require similar conduct of all counselors, Supreme Court staff, and personnel under the justice's direction and control. The SJ Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by not being dignified in the conduct of their actions before the trial by deciding the trial outcome without listening to both parties. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond were not dignified in the conduct of their actions before the trial and deciding the outcome of the trial before listening to both parties. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.4. A justice shall perform judicial duties without bias or prejudice. A justice shall not, in the performance of judicial duties by words or conduct, manifest bias or prejudice, including but not limited to bias or prejudice based upon race, gender, religion, national origin, disability, age, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by being biased towards Jean Coco before the trial occurred. The Supreme Court justices manifested bias before the court trial. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond were biased towards Jean Coco before the trial occurred. Furthermore, no evidence was found in support of the alleged bias manifested before the trial. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.6. A justice shall dispose of all matters fairly, promptly, and efficiently. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by not acting efficiently and fairly in deciding the trial of Coco versus the ERC. The Supreme Court did not hear both sides fairly, as one side, Coco, was favored by the members. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond were not efficient and fair in deciding the trial of Coco versus the ERC. No evidence suggests that the justices did not hear both sides fairly and that one side was favored. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.7. A justice shall not make any public comment about a pending or impending proceeding in the Supreme Court, and a justice shall not make any non-public comment that might interfere with a fair trial or hearing. The justice shall record a similar abstention on the part of Supreme Court personnel about subject to the justice's direction and control. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by commenting on a pending or impending trial and commenting on it before it happened. The court did not provide a fair trial or hearing by discussing and then voting in a manner that shows a bias toward the Coco campaign. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond commented on a pending or impending trial and did so before the trial occurred. No evidence suggests that the justices did not provide a fair trial or hearing by discussing and voting in a biased manner. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.8. A justice shall not disclose or use for any purpose unrelated to his or her judiciary capacity non-public information acquired in a judicial capacity. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by discussing information that unrelated to their judiciary capacity, such as whom should be the next president of the student body. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammond discussed information that unrelated to their judiciary capacity, such as whom should be the next student body president. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.6.9. A justice with supervisory authority for the judicial performance of other justices shall take reasonable measures to ensure the prompt disposition of matters before them and the proper performance of other judicial responsibilities. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated the statute by having the Chief Justice condone the actions of the senior and ranking justice wherein they were allowed to discuss and act upon the decisions to vote in favor of dismissing the violations of John Coco before the trial had occurred. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura condoned the actions of the senior and ranking justices. This violation does not apply to Senior Justice Shapiro and Ranking Justice Ahmed. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.7. A justice with reliable information that another justice has violated any provision of the Act shall initiate appropriate corrective action procedures. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by not acting up the realization that there was a discussion about actions to take before a trial and actually going through with it during the trial outcome. The Chief Justice did not initiate appropriate corrective action procedures. No evidence suggests that such a discussion took place, exonerating Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hammond. Therefore, Mr. Buenaventura was not required to initiate appropriate corrective measures. The second part of the violation does not apply to Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hammond because if you actually scroll up a little bit, it only refers to the Chief Justice. So that's why it doesn't apply to Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hammond. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. Is this one? Okay. 503.8. A justice shall recuse himself or herself in any proceedings in which recusal is required by Florida law. In all trial proceedings, a justice shall disclose information that parties might consider relevant to the question of recusal, even if the justice believes there is no actual bias for recusal. The SG Supreme Court leadership violated the statute by not recusing themselves earlier on the discussion of the upcoming trial. The information of reason for recusal was not given until the day of the trial and not beforehand where discussions occurred amongst themselves for weeks. Based on the interviews conducted, emails, and meeting minutes, the committee did not find any evidence supporting this violation. Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Hammond voted on granting certiorari, which is purely a procedural matter. Just to give you a little bit of information regarding this, it's just basically like applying a test in which you look at the different standards and you decide whether or not the case meets those standards to grant certiorari or not. So that's just basically what that means. So they did vote on that matter. However, the committee decided that it was purely a procedural matter. Where am I? So, okay. Mr. Shapiro chaired the oath, and then there was two pretrial motions during one meeting. Mr. Shapiro chaired the pretrial motion meeting, meaning that he abstained as the chair of that meeting and had no vote, and Mr. Ahmed was not present during the meeting at all. So there was no other voting that took place before the actual trial. So no evidence suggests that there was a question of recusal asked. Another part of the violation says that they never provided any information regarding the recusal. Basically, after interviews and just deliberations and consulted some documents, if there is no question of recusal, the justices do not have to provide a reason for recusal. There was no question of recusal, therefore, it was not required from them to provide a reason for recusal. Providing a reason for recusal does not apply to Mr. Buenaventura because he did not recuse. So that part of the question does not apply to Chief Justice. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.9.1. A justice shall conduct extrajudicial activities, so they do not, 503.9.1.1, cause reasonable doubt on his or her capacity to act impartially. 503.9.1.2, demean the judicial office. 503.9.1.3, interfere with the proper performance of judicial duties. The SJ Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by conducting activities that have cast doubt onto their capacity to act impartially, and they acted in a manner that demeaned the judicial office as well as interfering with the proper performance of judicial duties. This was done by discussing the outcome of the trial before the trial and deciding the outcome as well as following that decision into deliberations. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett conducted activities that may have cast doubt onto their capacity to act impartially. No evidence suggests that they acted in a manner that demeaned the judicial office as well as interfered with the performance of judicial duties. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. 503.9.6. We're almost done, guys. Stay with me. Right here. Just stay focused. We're almost done. 503.9.6. Justices shall not engage in any political activity within student government other than in relation to measures concerning the improvement of the law, the judicial system, or the administration of justice. The SJ Supreme Court leadership violated this statute by showing a bias towards one political campaign, the Cocoa White campaign, and engaging in activities not fit for the judicial branch, such as politics. Since they should be unbiased, this inhibited the proper administration of justice, since the court discussed how they will engineer the trial and acting upon the discussion for the actual trial, wherein the parties did not have a fair trial. No evidence suggests that Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett showed a bias towards one political campaign and engaged in activities not fit for the judicial branch. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. I repeat 4.12.4. Members of the Supreme Court, in agreement of their opinions, shall select for amongst themselves one member of their voting bloc, majority, minority, dissenting, or concurrent, to write their respective opinions. The Supreme Court leadership violated this RP by not choosing one member in their voting bloc to write their respective opinion. The Supreme Court leadership members discussed working together instead of it being only one person who should do it. Mr. Buenaventura stated in his interview with the impeachment committee that he wrote the majority of the majority opinion, alluding to the fact that other justices contributed in writing the rest of the opinion. Shapiro, Hammett, and Buenaventura stated that the majority opinion was written per quorum, which means that the opinion has no author. This directly contradicts RP 4.12.4. Email communications between the members of the court shows Mr. Buenaventura asking for edits and additions to the majority opinion. Justices replied with additions to the majority opinion. The committee cannot corroborate the changes and edits to the majority opinion. The Senate Impeachment Committee believes that this is a technical violation of RP 4.12.4, making it impeachable. However, the committee finds that this is a technicality. The Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. RP 4.12.5, no justice may author an opinion that does not coincide with his or her respective vote. The Supreme Court leadership violated this RP by having more than one member write the respective majority and or dissenting opinion each. There was discussion of having multiple authors. This violation is not in alignment with RP 4.12.5. Therefore, Mr. Buenaventura, Mr. Shapiro, and Mr. Hammett are exonerated from this charge. 203.3. The oath of office shall be as follows. As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida, I state your full name. Do hereby affirm to uphold the office of, state the office, to abide by the student government constitution, to uphold the statutes incorporated therein, and to represent the student body to the best of my ability. The SJ Supreme Court leadership violated the statute by not following the statutes incorporated in Title II and Title V as well as Title I. This is a violation of the duties and responsibility of the Supreme Court leadership members. The committee found no violations of Title II, Title V, and Title I. Therefore, the Senate Impeachment Committee does not recommend impeachment based upon this charge. And that is the end of the document. There are the three signatures from the committee members. Any questions?
Senator Abraham.
I just had a question. Sorry to prolong this time. I know there was several affidavits that you did not take into account. Can you give me a brief summary? In order
You can pull up the affidavits if you wish. They're like right there. On the above document. PDF file. Okay, so there was the Mr. McKinn's affidavit. Basically, he stated that, and I mean, is that allowed?
I'm just trying to see how it's relevant. It is public record.
I mean, it was submitted as evidence to the committee, so.
Yeah.
But it's up to the chair to decide.
Actually, does the Senate want the evidence to be presented?
Sure.
Sure. Good. No. Which one was it?
C. If you go to C. Yes. And it's a first affidavit. I just don't want to be saying things that I may not recall correctly. That would go over. But that was Corey McKinn's. He just basically said that he stepped out of the room at some point to take a phone call, and he overheard the justices, Mr. Basically,
There's no, like, this is not really legible.
I can read it.
Oh, well, I mean, hey,
But I'm just sort of telling them. Just he stepped out of the office and he heard the justices having a conversation in which one of the justices asked Mr. Shapiro to enumerate the plan one more time. I'm just really being careful trying to get the right affidavit because I don't want to say anything. Stepped out of the Supreme Court office to make a call.
Wait,
and said,
really quick, Ms. Abraham, what does your question have to do with the rest of the discussion?
I'm just trying to figure out, because I mean, I understand they had a lot of evidence presented to them, and they said they spent a lot of time deliberating. So I just want to understand what they deliberated on.
well,
Senator Romero.
Just to reiterate the thing I wanted Ms. Pellegrino to preface with, which was the fact that we ended up not taking into account any of the sworn statements that were submitted, and the reason for that was, like she stated previously, one of them was proven to be invalid because Aziz retracted his statement, as well as the fact that Mr. McCants didn't come in to corroborate his part, and at the end of the day, at that point, it became he said, she said, and we didn't want hearsay from either side to really cloud or be taken into consideration when deciding these things. Instead, we went purely off of the things that we could make decisions on that we decided couldn't be biased by any opinion that was, because at this point it was stated opinions on both sides of the equation. Instead, we went on the minutes and other emails as well as the interviews themselves, which were the things that we thought were, I guess, which we thought would lead to less bias and easier deliberation without looking at what people just said. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you still have Senator Abraham?
Well, I understand that they retracted their statement, but did they, whenever they came in to speak, and I don't know if you mentioned this, did any of them ever say that the information provided in the writing was false?
Ms. Pellegrino.
Mr. Aziz basically said that he didn't recall this occurrence happening, taking place.
Senator Overnews.
If I could just clarify, Mr. McCann statement, we don't know the legitimacy of it, but all Mr. McCann showed up in the committee to testify or for an interview, so we cannot confirm or deny any information within his.
Thank you. Questions? Okay.
Okay, I will. I was concerned whether that was here or not. So basically, just to clarify for myself, the reason that these were discounted is because there's questions about the legitimacy of one of them, and the other one it can only be construed as complete hearsay, and one side said this, the other side said this. There was no proof to back either one up explicitly, so you decided just to go off of things that had actual proof behind them. As
Just
I
like
understand
me.
it.
Pretty much, I would like to say yes. So both sides presented affidavits, multiple of them, and again, they're just opposing statements. And who are we going to believe? So basically, the committee decided to go off of concrete and actual evidence, such as the minutes, the email communication, public records, official statements, not official statements, I take it back, like the ruling of the case and for pretrial motions.
Senator Romero.
Yeah, just to further clarify, also the reason we didn't take them into account because we only decided to not take them into account after we found out all of the other evidence did not corroborate for or against anything said in any of the sworn statements. So because none of the other evidence could either prove or deny any of the statements made in any of the sworn statements, then we decided that we couldn't validate or disvalidate any of them. And so at that point, it became difficult to say, because at that point all of them would be on the same playing field and they all contradicted. So it made no sense to include them. Does that make sense?
Senator Cologne.
So, I'll see more questions. I hope everybody understands the realness of this right now. For real though, big things popping up in the Senate. So, where does it go from here? Can we vote or do something else?
To my knowledge, you only vote on the articles that claim to impeach.
So we don't have to vote.
No. Seeing that there are no just double check. So actually, there are none that claim impeachment. Then right, yeah, you don't need to vote. You can choose to vote and confirm, but really, even then, this is what you have to work with.
So, since we don't have to vote, are we moving on? Can we move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Senator Canton.
Hearing none, if the chair would allow it, I would like to make a motion to end discussion of the articles of impeachment and move on to the report from the Tangle Subcommittee.
Any objections to moving on from the articles of impeachment? Senator O'Day.
So just to clarify,
Please
now
say,
that we're moving on, the impeachment committee is done. The investigation's over. Okay. Just double check.
Cool. Alright. Seeing, are there any other objections? Since that was just a point of clarification. Seeing none. Ad hoc Title 7 report.
Hello, everyone.
If you could just come to the front so that people in the back don't see the back of your head. Please and thank you. Would you like any relevant documents open?
Do you actually need me to present the whole bill? Or, because I'm just giving a brief, because I present it to the next Senate, not necessarily this one.
However you'd like to, whatever makes it the most efficient for you. You're really presenting to the people in the back over there, but these beautiful gentlemen and ladies can obviously give any points that you'd like to have.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a brief description of what we
That's
discussed.
fine. Go ahead.
Well, my report is supposed to go to the next president, Senate president, and next pro tempore. They're going to get a.
Is that a point of personal stuff?
Speak a little louder because I know a lot of people are very back and forth.
Alright, sorry guys, I'll try to speak louder. And leave.
You normally say that.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. You're so kind. Alright, good evening everyone. Our last, we met 3 times for the ad hoc committee for sometimes a really long time, like 3 hours. But anyway, in our last meeting took place on Friday, and some of the changes that we discussed, if you want me to go in depth, I can go later on, but some of the big changes we made went from the beyond a reasonable doubt to preponderance of evidence. The second thing that was discussed was the minor and major violations, and before it was 3 minor, 1 major violation, and now we changed it to 5, or our recommendation is to change it to 5 minor violations and 1 major. And we also updated the grievance form so it can show for timestamps and all that good stuff, and we included people who can sign on it and things of that sort. So that is what we have updated, like major things. If everything else, grammatical errors, any errors that we saw for consistency reasons. So yeah, do you have any questions?
Everyone's able to hear her?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about Title VII? Moving on.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Alright. Now we're at that part why everyone's here. Bullseye ceremony. So generally this is conducted in unmoderated caucus because we don't want to burden our secretary or our clerk per se with the whole concept of writing out everyone's speech and crying in tears and yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff. So what I'll do is, are there any more points, people like announcements people would like on the record before we go into the bullseye ceremony? During which I'll have all the senators that are new move to the back of the room, and all the senators move as close, as close to each other as possible because you pass the gavel around. Well, sure. I mean, do you guys? Okay, Carlene, how many people are stepping out or have already stepped out? Just a rough clicker count. 3. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Would you guys like to do incentives before or during? Before. Cool. Alright, so we have this, well actually, guys, regardless, can the new senators move to the back, wherever you guys find room, as close as possible to the Senate, and all the old senators, just move in, no one's going to steal your stuff, just move in close to each other, try to fill in 2 rows, because there's only that many of you really. Like, try the front 2 rows, then move your way back, you know what I'm saying? Like, fill these 2, then go back.
Oh, it's your turn. Yeah. Oh, no. Ready? Pass the power.
Yes.
Guys, do it as quietly as possible since you guys chose to stay on the record.
Wait, we're staying on the record?
For the incentives, yes. Senator, let me just have everyone sit down so I can have everyone. Seat right there. Excuse me. Guys, you don't have to stand in it. You can just find the seats that are closest to the back. You get it? Like, no need to stand. I'm not a dictator. Like, alright, how about this? Would you do the whole incentive speech and the bullseye ceremony all on here? Senator Ontar.
I'd like to motion for an unmoderated caucus, please.
For roughly 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30-minute unmoderated caucus.
Any objections to a 30-minute unmoderated caucus? Seeing none, we are now in unmoderated caucus at 7:57 p.m. Cool. Alright, now everyone's seated. Alright, good stuff. So we have Mr. Aldridge. I'll let you take the floor.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Alright, so this is not necessarily for those who've already received prizes. I mean, so at the January 21st meeting was, that's the last time we gave out prizes. So we'll give out the prizes since then. Since January 21st, everyone obviously knows what the points are, right? The prizes for first. Okay, everyone knows tier 2. So tier 1, since January 21st. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead. All right, tier 1: Corey Uola, Ashley Richards, Mateo Hernandez, Umar Abunamus, Gary Cox, Andy Rodriguez, and Dale Hassan. So, pass out stuff.
Wait, can you name the names again? Just like
Corey, Ashley,
okay.
Ashley not here.
She's not here.
Mateo, Umar, Gary, Andy,
Gary. One second.
and you.
Adil.
Ashley not here.
Yes, if you just say that.
I made a mistake.
Use your ball. Everyone has a ball.
Alright, tier 2 is the Alright, tier 2 is this. Alright, tier 2 now is Ruger Rum, Corey Yola, Kristen Tron, Ashley Richards, Taylor Myers, and Dahlia O'Day. You have to bond it. Don't let them bond.
I know, right?
Alright, so this is actually stuff. Put it over here.
For tier 3, we're going to do two different things. When we gave out the ones on January 21st, we did not have like the themes for the food court. So we're going with all of tier 3. So some will get this, some will get this plus the umbrella. I can find where the is. Alright. So we'll go with the umbrellas first. So the ones that have both this and the umbrella, Brandon Hardman, Colton Cannon, Shin Lee, Kristen Tron, Carlene Belzer, Aspen Martin, and Dahlia O'Day.
Guys, look, hey, as soon as you hear your name, just raise your hand. Oh yeah, I don't want to keep asking.
Yeah, that's some money, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, she needs some. Okay.
I need another 5 or 6.
We also got the 5 who had 30 points the last time. So it's Lana, Abraham, Marcel Pellegrino, Mo Hassan, Evan Brown, and Howard Martin.
Oh, these are all named, so. Okay. This says. Wow, it got. Okay. Truck and trailer.
Like family size.
Wait, we done with this? We're done with this?
One more.
Okay.
And then last but not least, obviously we had 3 people who had tier 4. You just missed.
I just missed it.
We got 2 hit this battle. So tier 4, we had 3 people on January 21st. We got 3 more people. So for the blankets and the duffel bag, we got Javier, Carlene, and Mo. Now, one last thing. Obviously, we want to thank those. Not everybody obviously received the prize, but we want to thank those who have been able to be in Senate the whole year. The experience is obviously just as important as the prizes. And so for those who did not get up to tier 2, we have the tumblers for all of you. So, I guess.
All right. Again, raise your hand as soon as your name is called, so that he knows where to go.
So, I know who it's not. Okay, so John Bowles. We'll go around like clap each time. Okay. John Bowles. Is Malik here?
Just put it on the one.
Alex Monteith. Hiba Atima. Sophia Cologne. Padra. Emily Oliver. Hale Hernandez. Umar.
Put it on the stack of stuff. One there.
Gary Cox.
And one to Gary, so right next to Gary too.
Yeah, Andy Rodriguez.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Hale Leland. Alright. Just one other thing. Obviously the prizes we didn't give out, they'll be there for next year, but that didn't work. Hopefully the system worked this year. I mean, it's obviously up to what you guys thought about it. We've tried to go in the past with like not as many prizes and go by semester. This year was a term, so hopefully it's made a difference. Whatever we don't have can be built upon the next term to use that as some of the prizes and then buy some more. And obviously all of it's just been thanks to you for the work you put in, the time you put in, for the help that you gave the chairs, Sean and myself. So very much appreciated. All right.
Cool. And then we have the top 5. No. Alright, well then. Yeah, we have the top 5. I know I promised you guys hoodies, but they're like $100, so we kind of bumped off of that idea. If I can have people help me, so you have. Actually, if I can have the 5 people come forward, so you have Adam. Oh, okay. It's gonna be Javier, Bana, Maciel, Mr. Hassan, and Mr. Brown.
This is that squad.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, move into bowl.
The roasting of Cheyenne.
Cheyenne. It fell off of the side.
Seems like it was so with the Chargers like a day ago. What's happened? How does this year just pass?
Yeah, there's no names on it, guys.
It's still nice. I like it. Yeah, I'll
How
get
has it been a 4 years?
Alright, and so going into the actual bullseye ceremony. So the way this works is we'll start the gavel off in the furthest back. It'll work its way around, squiggly to me. I have the last speech, obviously. But you guys, what you say is you talk about what you liked about Senate, what you didn't like, if you'd like to. There's nothing really, but that's cool too. So whatever you didn't like, if that exists, and then you talk about any recommendations or any kind of cool experiences you've enjoyed. It's pretty much like, you know, the last day of high school, and then you're just like, oh, and like that is that. So it's pretty. So I mean, again, so it just the gavel gets passed around. Once you're done talking, you pass it to the person next to you. You don't really have to talk, but it's nice to do. And I guess the furthest back of this term would be Andra. Yeah, you chose. Imagine what happens when you sit in front of this back. Yeah, that's the same. Anything you want to talk about, anything that happened in Senate, anything you want to laugh, cry, anything, whatever. It's just reminiscing. If you didn't like it, you just say you didn't like it. You can impart whatever you want on the people in the back. That's why it's on the back. So you can tell them whatever you want. Cool.
So I think being here, I think I spoke up like 3 times altogether. It was a good experience. I learned last minute, and I would say that I enjoyed it. And had a good time.
Sorry, guys.
No, and then just whoever's. Oh yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm Ruba.
Hi, Ruba.
I just wanted to say that this was one of the best experiences in my college I learned so much from Senate. I learned so much from being part of ASTAR. I learned a lot about student organizations, how this whole process works. I learned to love USF a lot more because of student government. And I want to say I made a lot of good relationships. Marcia, Bana, old relationships that I've had. I think that we are so blessed
really don't care to say Senate for some sort of prizes. And Sean, thank you for being okay. But I'm kidding. You
Almost
were
on
great.
such bad
And I really enjoyed like making fun of your like and shaking and other things too. But I mean, thank you guys so much. I wish you the best on block from your teacher endeavors and Mr. Anhart. What can I say? It's been a pleasure working with you this whole year. I mean, no offense, guys, but I just wanted to say that you are the best pair of Senate
What?
I'm sorry, but yeah, I've learned so much from you, and it's been great working with you. I've really learned a lot from you, so yeah. So you're still okay. Just okay. But thank you guys so much, Ruba, everybody. I wish you guys the best.
Mr. Hassan.
If he actually talked, he's pretty great. Let me just say. Alright, student government. Well, no, let me not make this long because I've had to do this like 3 times already. So let me keep it short. Alright. All I want to say is just get involved as much as you can. Go to the office. I think Mr. Canton said it, or Colton said it a while ago. Go to the office, chill with anybody and everybody who's there. And just from being there, you'll learn a lot, pretty much. The fact that you're in the Senate office, the fact that you're around these people who know things, who have done things before you, you will be able to actually get things done and make yourself immersed in this. If you can't do ASARC, if you can bear budgets and maybe somebody is annoying Sean in ASARC, I love ASARC, it's amazing. That was an amazing experience. Also, the best movie ever. Appropriations and Audit stuff. So just like again, all I'm gonna say is just dive in and see as much as you can get out of the experience because you can either be a Tuesday night senator or you can be an everyday senator. Too much like myself, and it's been great. I'm gonna get all emotional with her. I love her to death. I love a lot of people. I think it's great. Our friendships here, our famous ERC here is one of my good friends, as well as all the chair people that are showing over there. So despite what you may hear in the paper, they're all still great people.
It's not Thor hammer, dude. It's gonna hit on the face.
Doesn't burn it down. Good thing the fight's on backwards.
Hey guys. Alright, so after coming in from last summer, I definitely got more involved this past semester than I did last semester. And for all the new senators, I'll definitely say get involved as much as you can from the get-go. It was great meeting all of you guys, and can't wait for next year.
Hey guys, I'm Kristen. So it was definitely an experience starting my first semester and kind of just running and then getting thrown into everything. But it was really exciting. I learned a lot. And definitely, I spent a lot of time in the student government office. For those of you who are there, I just sit there and do homework all the time. People would like come in and out. And you get to meet a lot of people, and it's really nice. I find it for the most times it's quiet. So most times, not all the time. Or like when they're throwing stuff balls and frisbees. Yeah. I got into either frisbee once in the student government office, but yeah, this definitely experience. Make sure you get involved because I learned that's the best way to get to know everybody.
Alright everybody, it's been a good year. I learned a lot, it was pretty great things. That's about it.
Hey guys, so coming into Senate, I honestly didn't really realize how much I would learn, not just about student government, not just about USF, but about myself. I learned a lot about what I could handle, what I could do, and how I could like speak in front of people. So I want to thank all of you guys for coming out and working hard and making this it's a great experience for me. Go Bulls.
So, to everybody I've had the pleasure to work with the past year, it's been a great time. Senate's taught me a lot. And like everybody else has been saying, all these new senators, I encourage you guys to get involved. Senate's just like anything else in life. You're going to get it. What you put in, you're going to get out of it. So, it's one regret I have. I worked a lot, so I didn't have as much time to put as much work into the Senate as I wanted to. But I still had a great time, great experience, and I had a great time giving back to the community. With that being said, fifth term, I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom. So I'm about to graduate next week, so please take care of my alma mater. And I look forward to coming back with the weather. So, football.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia. I didn't say much this term, but I just want to say that this has been a different experience while I was here in the US.
Well, I want to thank you all for definitely adding to my Tuesday nights. This is probably one of my greatest experiences while I've been here at USF. It's been fun. Sometimes it's been really long. But I definitely thank you all. Learning from you all, learning about myself, getting to know great people, and whatever your future career holds, I'm pretty sure all of you will be great.
Alright, hey guys. So I know I didn't actually get to meet a good amount of you guys, but those that I did get to meet, you guys are awesome. I learned a lot this semester. The pride I have for this university increased like 10 million times fold. And that's a lot folded 10 million times. But yeah, it was just a pleasure working with you guys, and those two guys are like that. I look forward to working with you guys this next semester. For those in the 55th term that don't know me, my name is Carlos Romero. The bad thing about not going first is that everyone says a lot of things you want to say. But either way, honestly, this was a great experience. The reason I joined Senate, obviously, was because I love this university and I wanted to serve it in some manner, in a different manner than what I had served it before. And being in Senate, I think the biggest thing is the fact that I've learned so much about my university that I didn't know previously. And if you truly love something, you really want to learn about it and really want to understand it to its fullest. So I think that Senate was able to provide that for me. But besides that, obviously I had great experiences under Chairwoman Petit, under now President-elect Coco, who obviously had to leave his position from UGCA. But that, I'm being on ASARC, fighting in committee every day. Those were great times. I made great relationships and hope to continue those in the future, even though those people may or may not be in Senate. Go Bulls.
Hello, new senators. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Andy Rodriguez, and this is my 4th year at USF. Probably one of my biggest regrets has been not becoming a senator sooner. It's something that I'd always wanted to do, and I did it this past year, and it's been a great experience. Not only have I learned so much about how funding works within the university, but I've learned how to almost be a better leader within other organizations that I have because of this, because I've learned so much about Robert's Rules of Order and working with people that are way different than you. I look forward to working with the 55th term, and it's been a great experience meeting everyone that I met this year. So
First of all, Andy Rodriguez is the man. He's like the Hispanic James Bond. Going off of that, I'm going to miss everyone here a lot. Put a lot into Senate and everything, and I'm going to miss it. From Sean being an awesome dude, don't go changing, to Aldridge, so Aldridge kind of has a bit of an obsessive personality. I'm analyzing you right now. Okay. But whether it's NCAA brackets, whether it's statutes and student government, or Subway sandwiches, or sweet tea. He's a little bit obsessive, but he's our mom. We love him. He raised me on his own. So, single mom over there. So props to Aldridge. I could say so much about all you guys, but that'd take forever. Me and Brian have a borderline bromance. case you didn't know that.
They dress the same sometimes.
Yeah, we actually match every once in a while. But yeah, I'm gonna miss it. And for all you new senators, number one thing, just come around the office. Like I did that, and it was awesome. Like I made a bunch of friends. There's free coffee in the office. You have to make it sometimes, but like there's free coffee. So you might still see me there, even though I'm not in student government. Just like getting a cup of coffee and dipping. But seriously, it's just hang around the office. It's a great opportunity. Go Bulls, stand by.
Hi guys, my name's Kayla. I know I didn't say much this semester, but it's been a great semester. It's been a great experience. Thanks to Sophie for getting me involved.
Shout out to brothers.
So, I'm Sophie, just in case you haven't heard me talk enough. Well, I just want to say it was a pretty gnarly experience being here. Thanks for not judging me or my lingo or for me saying yo to the provost, even though I apologize. It's okay, because, I mean, the provost and I are going to be homies now, so. But whatevs. So, I'm just like, so when I first came here to my very first Senate meeting, I stopped in on like this part, and Sham was actually like one of the first to talk, and he was like, you should have had the Bulls, get it, like Bulls Cup, get it? Like, just like that though, too. To like be in Senate and to be a senator, so like, I was like, you know what? I know, we have the Bulls, like I can do this. And I did, and I got to give my opinion, and I got to, you know, make changes, and I got to make Adam cry. I'm sorry. Are you gonna be okay? Is this too emotional for you?
Barely, we'll see.
But yeah, so like shout out to all you guys. You guys are pretty cool people. Don't be afraid. Speak your mind. Yeah. And I love Kayla. Best friends since middle school. So it's great. I know. It's here. I love Emily. Best friends since this year. And I love Corey because I mean him and I are just best friends on and off the field, soccer wise, and you know here, Senate wise. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'll be back 55th. If you ever want to come just sit in and hear me speak, you know, give me some of my wisdom. It's really cool.
As well, so some of my advice for you was when I came in, I was very shy. I didn't really want to talk. I didn't want to say anything until Mr. Protein Ford came in and Mr. John Hobo came and he yelled at me. We're like, move up, start talking more, say things. It wasn't really yelling, just started talking. Like, so that's my advice for you guys is get involved. Sometimes you're going to start yelling across the room at each other. The debates are going to get really heated. I love you all. Who had debates and we all got to, I know it's really heated at some point. But make sure you guys give your opinion no matter what. That's why we're here. Even if we go in circles for 3 hours to get back to the same point in getting, yes, we've done that. It's all worth it. It's all for the students and getting for USF. So make sure, thank you to Ms. Akasimi, my chairwoman, for really helping me learn last semester and learning a lot of advisor and standards and stuff for funding. And thank you to Mr. Aziz for JAC, really helped me with a lot of going through statutes and really getting to understand that. So make sure you guys are using your resources, your chairman, your chairwoman, those who have been in Senate. It's really important because they really know a lot. So make sure you guys are talking to them and you guys learn as much as possible.
Alright, for those that don't know me, my name is Dahlia Day, and I just want to first take a moment to congratulate everyone that got elected to the 55th term, whether it's originally Casca buddies, yes. If you have the opportunity to apply for Casca, it was one of my amazing moments here at SG. The things you learn in student government is you know, or you get to learn that people have different opinions, and you might not always agree with that opinion, but you have to learn how to respect it. And the connections you make here are forever. I've met so many people, so many different people here that I will know for the rest of my career and hopefully go on. We're all here for the same reason. We all love USF and we all want to better it. And so I just want to thank every single one of you guys for being here. And thank you to my chairwoman of appropriations and audit. The one thing I would say is we are appropriations and audits, so audit as much as you can because you see these amazing gifts. Audit. So audit as much as you can, guys. Yep.
I was about to follow up with that, but I just want to say after being in Senate for 2 years, I'd say this term was a lot more fun and you guys are a lot better. It was a lot of fun. Senate, some new senators, it was a lot of fun. Again, we were 7-4. I heard what she told me we were hitting that ball, so I'll just have fun. So looking forward to the day. But I just wanted to thank all the leaders, definitely Sean and everyone, all the other chairmen and chairwomen. Just learned a lot from you guys in these 2 years, and just hopefully all this next time is going to be a lot better for you guys. So just want to thank everyone, congratulate for those who are graduating, and all of everyone who's starting. Go boys.
Hey guys, I'm Carly, for those who don't know. I'm also the department arms for the fourth term. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, okay, whatever. Okay, cool. So this year, honestly, I really enjoyed it. This is my first year in student government. If I had another year, I would definitely like to run again. Thank people. Well, new people. I like new people. Okay. So yeah. I really enjoyed it. Your section arms was very good, difficult at times when people whatever, but I just let it go. I got tired at a certain point. Yeah. I come from work every Tuesday and yeah, anyways, that's a lot. So, I just want to say thank you to Okay. So anyways, I just want to say thank you to everybody, all the senators, Patel, Adam, all the chairwomen and chairmen. Sorry. No, I didn't women just because I was met. And then so also special shout out to Ali and Abdul. I was in their committees. So on their committees every day. Okay. And also to the new senators, as everybody's been reiterating, get involved and also ask questions. No question is a dumb question for the most part. And just really just ask questions because then you'll know more about the university. And you get to meet a lot of cool people like the provost and Judy. Judy's so small. I would say we learned a lot in student government, and I really, you guys, the gifts, thanks. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all you guys. I'll miss you guys because I'm graduating. Woohoo, to graduate!
Alright, well, I think I'm definitely one of SG's longer-winded senators, so sorry, 55th term, we want to make your long Senate meeting be even longer. Being in Senate has been an amazing experience. I have met people who are so bright and so passionate and so funny. There's been a lot of great moments. Zane falling out of her chair during that one meeting. wanted to give everyone, wanted to have that memory come back. Sean has been an amazing Senate president on ASARC. I wanted to punch him in the face sometimes, but that's how you know you were doing your job on ASARC, is if at at some point you wanted to punch someone else in the face and they wanted to punch you in the face. Adam Aldridge, as everyone else has said, I don't understand what Senate's going to do if you're not here. That's kind of scary. But you're an amazing guy. You feel like you run the world. And thank God that they do, or else it would be way bigger a mess than it already is. I got to give a special shout out to my chairman of the Rules Committee, and the committee that rules, by the way, the best committee. Now, I'm going to give some advice to you. Also, by the way, everyone else in Senate, it has been wonderful to serve with you guys. You, like I said, you are a group of the brightest, most dedicated people I've ever had the pleasure to know. And I have two regrets regarding Senate. The first is that I did not join earlier. The second is that I was not a better big to my little Dahlia O'Day, who's also an amazing person. Thank you. Not true, but thank you. Anyway, now, if you would indulge me and allow me to take some advice from a man who can barely run his own life. I think that's fair. I just want to say, you will learn a lot in the Senate. That is a guarantee. However, you have a lot to give Senate already, as you are. I know that all of you are coming in here because you had ideas, because you want to do things for this university. And do not sit around and say, I need to learn more. I need to wait and see. Go. Go to your leadership. Bother the crap out of them with your questions, with your ideas. 25% of them will have already been done. 25% of them will be infeasible. Another 25% of them will have been tried and failed. But that last quarter will change the university. We have people in this room who are constructed because of their dedication a student memorial that will last literally hundreds of years. And you can look at people and do the same thing. They'll outlast you. They'll lock the close to you.
For those who don't know me, my name is Brandon. I've been sober for, I just want to say thank you to all that 54th time. Like, they have the saying where you're like the average of like the people you surround yourself by, and like so many of the people here are so successful, and they really make you want to do your best. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, especially our mom, Eldridge. You for always dressing so nice, making everybody else like crap. The food people for the delicious meals. Also, for the news Senate, I know that like you probably read the Oracle, seen a lot of negative publicity, but in the end, understand that like what we've done is the greatest, like give for the greatest amount. So there's always going to be people who didn't agree with it, but in the end, like we have done what we were set out to do. We represented our people, so I just want to say good job to everybody, and I hope that we continue that. So good luck and good job. Just kidding. It's been a great time. All you guys. I made a lot of friends. A lot of relationships I know that I'll stay with me the rest of my life. And I know that for all the new senators, you're about to take notes. It's going to be really important. I want you to listen to every single word that you say, because you have something that you need to uphold to the student body, and you're going to get a lot of stuff done if you just stay true to your own.
So I've had the honor of being a senator since my first semester here. I was one of the lucky few who actually stumbled upon it, and it was just like, let me run and see if it happens. And I mean, honestly, it is one of the biggest things that's happened to me being at USF. I mean, I still have another year, 2 more years hopefully if I rerun after that, but the biggest thing I've gained is the relationships, honestly. I mean, as we surround ourselves with all these great people, there's no way for you not to grow as a person. I mean, like Maziel, I mean, there's so many people, I mean just in general, I'm not going to go list everyone, but there's so many people here who I wish I could just like give up my chair and give it to them, who are now returning, because there's just such great people here who I've grown from. And I mean, the biggest one is definitely Adam. What's it called? Right now, I'm vice president of my fraternity, and at the moment before my elections,
I kept talking to people and just trying to get encouragement and see if there was something I really wanted to do. And the person who sold it for me was Adam. Just all the hard work he does and how humble he is about it, it's not for recognition. He does it for the people, and that's honestly what motivated me to be like a I'll be here longer, so I'm not going to elaborate more. Just listen to everything everyone's been saying, ask questions, try to change things. Don't just sit here and vote yes and move on. I mean, just do things. So, yeah, go Bulls.
Alright guys, I'm Abdul Aziz. I'm returning for the 55th term. And this year has been a lot of fun. So, start from the back. My partner in crime, David. Half of all the fun things couldn't have gone done without David. Moving on.
Best CFO ever.
Colton. Philosophical argument. Sometimes he'll confuse me, confuse himself. Charlie, for JC. He's like my ideal JC member. Everything is like a hawk. Corey, you're right, you were quiet the first semester, but now you can't stop him from talking. Alright, Vana and Matsu, I'll put you guys together. I mean, you guys have been a lot of entertainment, a lot of fun. In terms of jokes, you helped me improve my jokes. Mo, he didn't say much, but he's really funny. Moving on now. Krista. Sometimes she's quiet, but like once you share JC, she was like off doing like fun. We got Carlos. Carlos is fun. His best goal was appropriations and sharing. Javier, another partner in crime for student memorial. Then we've got Evan Brown, my memorial ad hoc crime as well. Spending hours surveying the campus for this spot. And finding lunch. So that's always fun. We'll be missed. So yeah, Hiba. Special fun is always fun. She has a good sense of humor to deal with all of her stuff. Ali, he's just a man. And Shaw, king of metaphors, reigning champion multiple years. And Adam, I would say like student government as a whole would not really function without Adam Oliver. So he will be sorry.
Hi guys, I'm Hiba. I don't really know what to say. I've grown so much since I joined Senate, and I'm really glad I joined. I'm so sad you're graduating, but honestly, like every single one of you have made this experience so good. I feel like we're like one big family, like fights and all. It does feel like a family. So, for those of you graduating, good luck with everything. For those of you staying, make you proud. You guys have learned a lot. You guys can do this, and teach everybody you learn. That's that. I really enjoyed my time here.
Hey everybody, my name is Zane. I want to start this off by saying thank you to my colleagues, these chair people. They're the best people to work with, honestly. I've never met people who are as dedicated to their jobs. To Adam and Sean, you guys are the best bosses ever. Honestly, you guys guide us, but don't force us. If that makes sense. So anyway, moving on. I'm a firm believer in the fact that you don't really know someone until you spend at least 12 hours with them. And in ASAR, we spent 14 hours, 12 hours, 8 hours, 4 hours, and anywhere in between. And I've gotten to know so many of you guys, and I respect you guys so much. The best thing about Senate is you see growth, and in others, in yourself, and I think that's something you can take with you for the rest of your life. So take that and run with it, because we are the Stanton.
Yeah, well, this is gonna be a little weird for me because technically I'm graduating, but I'm not leaving because I'm still gonna be here for another 3 years on the other side of campus. So a lot of my friends are all graduating. Sean is graduating, Zane is graduating, Hilla's graduating, Mo's not graduating yet. And so I'm forgetting anybody. Adam's graduating. Ruba's not my friend. People are graduating and they're all going away. Fauna? Never mind. People graduating, I'm staying here. It's going to be a little weird. But, so, I don't know if Senate's going to be the same without a lot of these faces coming back. It's going to be weird coming to the office and not seeing Sean there. It's going to be even weirder coming to the office and not seeing Aldrich ask any questions. To make sure that everything goes smoothly. But that's the point that everybody's been hammering away at. So I'm just going to go ahead and say thank you to my original Legislative Rules Committee, Alex Maltese, Maciel Pellegrino, and Colton Canton. You guys were awesome. You were the Legislative Board. We had our names. I was Mr. Legislative. I don't really remember the rest of it. Yeah, it was based off the Fantastic Four. I'm not a very big Fantastic Four fan, but that was us. Speaking of the Legislative Board, I just wanted to make mention to the greatest Rules Committee meeting of all time. I can't give you the exact time, but the best part about this was that Ms. Pellegrino inquired as to the availability of meatballs, and she was very serious and dead set on that point. And that was like a very tense point in the meeting because she really needed to know whether or not there were going to be meatballs at the next meeting. And it got a little tense. People talk about ASOC getting tense. This was like a million times more tense. Maciel had to know whether or not there were going to be meatballs. But seriously, Maciel, thank you for being a great vice chair. You always had my back whenever I didn't. And you just did a great job learning on the job, doing really well as a vice chair, training in, filling in. Colton, thank you for bringing up those great questions. You never let anything go. Anything that actually mattered to you. But if you realize that, sometimes you made a mistake, you did a great job in letting it go. So, thank you, Colton. I really appreciate your input in the committee. Alex, I really wish you could have stayed with me all term. Me too. But I understand. It's okay. I understand. The outside guy out of the way, but, great work there. Ms. Larkins, Haynes, Lee, Mo, thank you for showing up so consistently to my committee meetings. You guys are great. We weren't just another name on the roster for me to cross off during the forum. And Belisario also showed up pretty consistently. If I'm forgetting anybody else who showed up consistently, it's just that there was quite some turnover after the original Legislative Board. So we had to manage with that. Sean, thank you for being in Senate with me. You made it a lot easier when we first started in the 52nd term. I ran without you, and I was like, man, I don't know anybody. And then you somehow made it in, and then it wasn't so bad. Yeah. Anyway, but speaking of that greatest meeting ever, though, there was another thing that I said, and I think it's the truest thing ever. Somebody asked about what happens to bills after they pass. And all I said, and this is the truest thing, this is the most truth you'll ever hear in Senate, is that after they're passed, they are passed along to Mr. Aldridge, who works his magic like a wizard, and make sure that they are actually implemented. He is the Harry Potter. He called himself that. He gave himself the title. I didn't call him Harry Potter. I just called him a wizard. And he does a great job with that. But segueing into that, just one last thing I wanted to say about Adam. At the start of this term, I was considering running against Adam for Pro Tem Board. There were two reasons I dropped that. One, I would be terribly blown out. He was going to wreck me. I knew he would. I would have lost that easy. And secondly, is that he's so much better than me at the job. He does such a great job being the wizard, running things.
I'm gonna first mention something because Ollie really said it. I think so. We considered running for different. I ran for president 2 years ago against Jeff Gow. We considered he was running for something else. I was considering maybe talking about appropriations and stuff like that. But last year in April, whenever Scott, which I guess he's not here, whenever he became vice president, we ran, the two of us and Aziz, for Pro Tem Board. And it was pretty tight the second time between Ollie and myself. And I think 95% of the time, that could have led to hostility throughout the year. That could just kill the relationship between our Pro Tem Board and community chair. It could kill the rules relationship. And it did. And it didn't because of how considerate and nice and kind and dedicated Ollie was to his rules committee job. So I appreciate it. As you can tell, positive congratulations to me is something to cry about. So you spend all the time worrying about a boat record or an attendance to not worry about what the people view of you. So, and I also want to say that it all couldn't have happened without Sean's help. Referencing Scott again, I think part of the problem last year was that Jeff never let Scott get involved in a whole lot of things other than maybe the website. That's what we heard every single next meeting, every single report. I'm doing the website. That's it. Nothing else. And from the bucks to the committee part to the attendance to as many things that I wanted to get myself, probably way too much than I should have put on my plate. You let me get involved in, and so I'm always thankful for that. Thankfully, I did start to say some of the stuff that the fifth term about in the info sessions about what you should do as sort of advice, so I don't have to say that here. But I want to thank all of you so much. Each year would be different. I mean, when I came in 3 years ago, my freshman year, it was so full of different hostilities and different. It was educated, and year after year, we've sort of gotten newer and newer in terms of Senate experience, and it didn't not lead to debates and confrontations on the floor or having three states not here. Having three gavels, got us in. But also led to so much of the learning curve that I'm so proud to be part of. I mean, a government's what I want to do the entire time internally. Being internal government is what I want to do for my entire life. So to have this experience, it may not be noticed. I guess it may not be noticed as much outside, to the random person walking in, but to hear the positive reinforcement and things for all you people is something I'll take very much. So.
The first day, once Adam and I were both elected together, we got the key to our office. We walked in, looked at each other, we closed the door, looked at each other, and we were like, and pretty much, you can imply all this, he was like, I was like, I got your back, Adam. He's like, I got your back, Sean. And we just moved on with it, because honestly, what Senate is, Senate has to be very cohesive, Senate has to be strong enough to understand all the problems that could happen, make sure, it's not trampled, because honestly, there's just no checks and balances. We tried our best to maintain it. I was making me cry. And so, but yeah, so, we had a lot of fun talks, ideas about that office. We were like, hey, we could put a TV over there and act like we're watching real things. We're watching ESPN. And, it was fun times. But moving from there, if you were ever in the office, Adam was there. I'm pretty sure, janitors leave before Adam does. And then Adam opens the door for them. Whenever they're locked out, Adam's there to open the door. I already know how to explain, I could not define all the things that Adam, or even list all the things that Adam's ever done for Senate. Without you guys even knowing. So, you guys are praising him on all these things. You don't know half the things. I'm pretty sure you don't know 75% of the things that he's done, making up all 25% of the facts on the spot. And so, again, I would just like to give Adam another round of applause just because of everything that he's done. Every time we fight, we'd have a text that says, yo man, I didn't actually mean it, I hope you understand. And I would just go back and forth and reciprocate over and over. Because I fight with everybody, as everyone knows. And I've never yelled at you. I don't know, either I didn't like you or you didn't talk. One or the other, Canton. We used to argue in A-Star, I'd make a point that I knew I was right on, but then he'd make some argument about it, and then it sounded valid in my head, and I was like, this kid's wrong, but it's okay, we'll argue it out. I'm just kidding. Yeah, and so, even A-Star, so A-Star was just a bunch of hostility, I think I cussed on the record once. I kind of pseudo-gabbled gabbled people for her because she wouldn't gavel people.
Tried to vote me out.
I tried to vote her out. We did vote Mr. Aldrich, but we overturned his chair shift. I cut people off. I mean, guys, it's just, okay, we get it. And then, J-Mo, we ruined a lot of her dates because of the H part. I'm happy you tried that. She's complaining about how she had a date and we ruined it and we went until 10 a.m., 10 p.m. And so then we had, And then we had, I don't know, David, every time something, if you're ever in the office and you feel like you're on the Jerry Springer show, it's because David's in the corner just cussing at random things. Throwing a fit about anything. We needed a therapy dog, but we were afraid you might kill it. So we had, the supervisor of witch hunts himself, him being new and taking such a big role, and also taking the spotlight and heat from everybody, I'm surprised he was able to stay. Personally, I would have left. It's not even worth it at that point, But I'm proud to call you my friend as well, even though you have really big lips. Alright, so Rupa is just.
You better not. We use each other's moves. No,
she hated me and she was fat and I was she twats sometimes. She'd be like, guys, what I'm wearing, I'm gonna win anything I want to win just because of the way I'm dressed. No, they just check me out and always I'm just kidding, guys. I'm kidding. Yeah, no, we're friends, except we hate each other. That's all. Since Maciel's next to mine and Bonda's you can never really separate the two of them. Honestly, I feel like if you argue with one of them, the other one will come out of nowhere and just start arguing back for no reason. Don't even know what the argument's about. But I think there are actually people that kind of cuss at me. And then we have Mo, Mr. Default. You'll always only see him in gray or gray, I guess. Yeah, that's why he doesn't talk much. It's okay. He's a nice guy, except he's also really pretty inside. Let's see here. Go this way. We're going to move this. This man, I've never understood how much water one person can consume every day or every year. There it is. He even asked me tonight if I could be his honorary water filler upper, and I was like, I'm such president. And then, moving all down, you guys were all the nicest people. I don't even know what to say.
It's okay. It's pause. Yeah, pause. Stop.
Yeah, I have a lot of you even asked me how I got into Senate or why I ran or what happened. So the first time I ever ran, it's because Adi got in Senate, and then Kareem and I were looking at each other hey man, why didn't we run? And it's because he invited Kareem, but he never told me to run. So we ran with the assumption that we were gonna get polos, portfolios, and we could race a golf cart down Collins Boulevard. That was our three goals. We honestly wrote them down and said we will not leave this until we do these three things. We returned even after that just because honestly it's a passionate thing you want to do. You've never really been able to argue like this. I'm gonna admit, I've argued wrong points just so I can learn because at the end of the day, this is a learning laboratory. Anyone can tell you anything otherwise. You'll never really know how to argue until you've argued a point you don't believe in, so you can see what they why they even say it. So you have I don't know, a bunch of people. So everyone in the back, argue any point possible, even if it's the smallest, stupidest. Actually, not stupid, but you know what I'm saying. Just argue things. We have Corey, who he'd come by the office and ask me random questions, and he'd always allude to things, but I'd be like, I'll help you, but I got your email stuff. I know. We had Carlene. Carlene honestly was my favorite. Every time in Senate, she would stand up, I'd be like, Carlene, do you have anything? She'd be very shy, but she's the nicest person I've honestly ever met. I can't believe there's someone who had the balls to be able to stand up and say, I will come around and turn off your laptop, turn off your Facebook. I just feel it's really not acceptable in our social time where someone's, a big Hitler kind of person. But she was really about it. She actually made sure that there were, everyone paid attention. Moving on down, like we have Mr. Aziz with all of his memes. Like you guys haven't seen any. You haven't seen any. You've seen his memes. We have ones where like Carlos is sleeping and Azar can. We have Adam and Subway. I mean, so we have like these two. They're also partners in crime, almost really. Like they're always high-paced and defending each other. No different than Maciel and Vanya. Like they just argue about everything. We have Adi. Like honestly, I don't like. Adi's an inspiration to me. He's so nice. Like I don't know how he does what he does. He's the most humble person. Like I don't. It's just really hard to explain. But yeah, and then I mean, I love you too, Sean. Stop. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many memories in Senate, guys. Like I can't even convey them at this point. I don't cry, but like,
the end of an era.
It's the end of an era.
The dad. People have told cried in the dad since I'm the mom.
Oh my God, those stories make so much more sense now.
But yeah, no, so we had people, honestly, the last term told me, like, they came into my office and they told me, hey man, with a 67% turnover, you're not going to have a good Senate. You're going to have a horrible Senate. Have fun. The last Senate that were good, like, all the good Senates are over with. You're screwed. Da-da-da. And honestly, you guys have really, like, pretty much kicked them in the face and said, shut the heck up. Like, there's no way that makes sense. Because of all the stuff you guys have done, there's honestly not been challenges that they faced that you guys were able to face. We have a library situation. They probably would have botched it. Honestly, you guys handled things very well. I'm even surprised by, like, you guys actually had questions for the provost. You guys had the best presentation, the best impression on Miss Lovins. She loves all of you. I mean, so honestly, I'm really honored to have served with anyone and all of you. I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. What's up?
Well, we all talked about each other, and none of us really talked about our two advisors, Gary and Jessica. Through all our long meetings and helping. I know a lot of us have gone to both of you for lots of questions and help. So thank you for sitting through all the long meetings. You took minutes sometimes to sit through and make sure that we all got our information across. Talk about what we wanted to talk about. So thank you.
And Masha. Masha is amazing.
Alright guys, so what we do now is we get back in on the record. We'll just have your final roll call. And then we'll have about your final roll call, yeah. Then we'll have like a 5-minute recess to where everyone else in the back takes their Senate seat. Swear them in. You guys don't have to be here. You're more than welcome to join us in the back. Right, yeah, we're cool. So we have to get back on the record. Yeah. Wait, everyone just take their seats.
Hey, can we do one thing real quick? Okay, I have all the placards down here since apparently we didn't put them up in the meeting. If you want your name or something, it's a memento. It's up to you. They'll be here for you guys to pick it up because otherwise we'll have to throw them in the trash because we'll have to put sometime between now and the first summer session, put in the new ones for the next one. So, just FYI, it's open.
Yeah, just the paper.
It's just the paper. It's just the paper. You gotta get the gold medal.
I was making people do that because it's gonna grab it.
No, I don't know if it's gold or not, but it's nice.
My ass.
So, I just want to make sure.
Alright. So if you just hit the clicker, or I mean the recorder. We're back from Unmoderated Caucus at 9:03 p.m. I guess the last item on this agenda is your final roll call. Everyone can have their clickers out, and we can finish off this term strong. But you know my clicker reads.
No, you cannot.
These guys, this is your last click. Click whatever number you want. I believe in this.
Oh, it's not working.
Oh, really? Oh, so you don't think on it.
One would have thought you would have learned, Sean.
Okay.
He just really didn't want us to leave.
Is it your first day? I'm gonna fill up that. I remember last time.
I'll tell you what, it's okay. slide. Alright, guys. You can click any button, I think. No, no. Why did it disappear?
It just does that. You said the thing clicking around.
Yeah, it's right here. They're on the gym. Oh, okay.
Well, no, it says no value.
What do you mean there's no value? Oh, no. No, it's the same exact slide.
Click on the 54th term again. The spring list.
There it goes. You can put it in.
abstain.
Is that everybody? With 32 present, any announcements? Miss Bellazero, is there an announcement? No. Oh.
I can make it.
Whoa. Give it a blow, give it a blow.
Give it to Mo. Give it to Adam. Give it to Adam. Adam.
Can we all just say it simultaneously? Adam.
Senator Aldridge, you have a motion.
I will move to adjourn this meeting.
Any objections? I'll take that as an objection. Seeing no objections, we're now adjourned at 9:06 p.m.